Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dan Gazway, your mental performance coach. A few months ago, I was asked to talk to a group of about 70 to 100 sales professionals about question-based selling. And why question-based selling? Because if you're asking your clients the right questions, they're going to tell you why they are buying your service and why they need your product, as opposed to you trying to just sell them. So I started out with a question, or actually I started out with this quote by Mark Cuban. He says, "I learned how to become wealthy by asking myself the right questions." And if there are right questions, there are actually wrong questions. And then I proceeded to talk about a guy by the name of Brendon Burchard. Many of you may have heard of him. He wrote the Motivation Manifesto, which I believe the first 2 pages are the best pages of personal development ever recorded. But he got into an accident at 19 years old, and he almost passed away. But in his hospital bed, he was there for a couple of months, and he asked himself 3 questions that made his career. He wrote a book out of it, but he asked himself the 3 questions: did I live? Did I love? And did I matter? And that transformed his career. That actually created a career for him. He wrote a book called Life's Golden Ticket. That took off, and he's written several other New York Times bestsellers. But my point is, it started with asking himself the right kind of questions. Now, as athletes, when we replace questions like, why did this happen to me, with what can I learn from this experience, things change. Asking ourselves the right questions. Successful athletes ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. So by answering the right questions, what we choose to do daily becomes pretty powerful. Now, I learned to ask questions, not just to me, not just to athletes, not just about being an athlete, but when I took a sales job at a place called Prosper. And what we did is I had a 3-page script. I actually was a sales trainer for this company for a couple of years. But we had a sales script, and in that script, all it was were little sections of questions. And what I did was I helped sell real estate investing, and I helped sell coaching programs, basically. And people were making a decision whether they wanted to work with us or not, of course, wanted our service. So some of the questions that I would always ask that would help them think about making the decision or not were these 3. What are you most dissatisfied with your current circumstances? How committed are you to change that? And what would happen if you don't make those changes? And then once you ask a question, you sit there and listen to how people respond. But when you ask yourself the right question, you get better results. The problem is if we ask ourselves the wrong questions, like, why does this always happen to me? Your brain's going to start scanning around and finding all of the reasons why bad things keep on happening to you, or why you're always swinging those curveballs instead of learning how to improve upon those pitches. We all know that thoughts determine feelings, and feelings influence performance. And so asking yourself questions that lead to positive thoughts and problem solving is really important. Like, for example, let me give you a couple of good examples. What is my purpose? We talked about one video, living a life with purpose on purpose. Playing practice with purpose, hitting with a purpose, pitching with a purpose, playing with a purpose. Some good questions are, what do I want to happen? Or what would help me now? Bad questions are, why is this happening now? Why is this happening to me? What's wrong with me? Do I deserve to be on this team? Those types of negative questions. Now that brings me up to the point. I've been rereading a book called The Champion's Mind. And in this book, he talks about self-talk, and he talks about feeding the good wolf. And I want to read this to you very briefly and then make an invitation to you to ask yourself better questions and to do a couple of other things. But I love this story. It's very powerful. We've probably all heard it, but we need to do a better job of applying it, most of us. It says, there is an old Cherokee legend known as the tale of the two wolves. A grandfather explains to his warrior grandson that there are two wolves within each one of us, while the other wolf is negative and destructive. These two wolves fight for control over us. The grandson is curious and asks, which wolf will win? And the grandfather replies, the one you feed. I think that is very important. One wolf is positive and negative, or positive and influential. The other wolf is negative. Which wolf are you feeding? We all have good questions and we all have bad questions. We all have positive thoughts. We all have negative thoughts. Which one is going to win the battle? So my invitation is simple. I want you to monitor what kind of questions that you ask yourself and shift the focus of your questions into feeding the positive wolf in your life.